Hey everybody, so in my last video I briefly mentioned that bow on console was in a weird place, but I didn't explain why. So in this video I wanted to quickly go over why that is and talk about how it affects the endgame meta for bow on console. Bow on console is different than it was on PC and on Switch when it released. Just a day before Sunbreak came out on all platforms, the game had a massive balance patch that buffed and nerfed every single weapon in the game and other aspects of the game. In the case of bow, and I'm gonna go over that in detail in the video, mostly it has been nerfed. It doesn't really matter in Sunbreak because bow got so many new things that make it stronger that arguably today it's stronger than it's ever been in the game. However, on console, even though you don't have Sunbreak and you won't have it for quite some time, the nerf and this update has already been applied, so you're playing with a nerfed bow without having access to Sunbreak. So in this video we're gonna do a few things. The first one is to see exactly what has been changed. The second one is we're gonna see how much exactly it affects bow's damage. And the third one, we're gonna see how much it changes the meta for the endgame bow builds. So let's start with the changes. There are a few minor changes, mostly your melee damage, whether it's your actual melee or the melee that's on your dash with dodge bolt, has been slightly increased. So your melee damage is slightly better, but that doesn't change the way you play bow at all. The second change, and the very significant change that bow received, is tied to your charge level. If you're new to bow, this is basically how it works. When you shoot your bow or you hold an arrow, your bow is gonna increase its charge level. So the first arrow is gonna be level 1, then 2, then 3, and up to a maximum of 4 charge level. Each charge level does more raw damage and more elemental damage as you go up. So charge level 4 does significantly more damage than charge level 1. What's been nerfed is charge level 3 and 4. The raw modifier of charge level 3 went from 1.5 to 1.25, and charge level 4 had a massive drop from 1.7 to 1.35. Now if we look at the elemental charge levels, those have been slightly buffed. It's nice in Sunbreak because we do way more elemental damage, but in base Rise the elemental damage of the bow is extremely low. Up to 90% of your damage before the nerf was from raw damage, not elemental. So to be clear, on console Rise, this is straight up a nerf. There is no way around it. It doesn't even come close. That's a nerf for every single bow. So how much of a nerf is it really? Well, it depends what bow you're using and what monster you're fighting. If we look at the most dominant bow in base game, it used to be the Chameleos bow, which is a raw spread bows. This bow suffers the most from this nerf because it doesn't have any element. This is a straight up 20% nerf to this bow's damage. That's a massive nerf. Now when it comes to elemental bows, it's gonna depend a lot on which element is it and what monster you're facing, but you're looking at a nerf from 10 to 15% depending on the bow. So that's why console is in a weird place, because if you look at guides or videos that were made before the console release, even on my channel, all the bows are doing more damage, and you're gonna be recommended to use the Chameleos bows most of the time because that was the most dominant bows. But now that it's been nerfed so much on console, it's still a very good bows, but there is very little situations where it's actually the best, and I'm gonna go over that now. First of all, the meta really only changed for spread. For rapid and pierce, it really hasn't changed at all. A lot of people have been asking me what's the best shot type to use, and it's very situational. Pierce is niche, but when it's good, it's the best shot type, and on the screen I'm gonna show you which matchups are actually best for Pierce. And outside of those matchups, spread will always be better than rapid in terms of damage. That doesn't mean that rapid is bad, it just means that rapid is a little bit easier to play and is more flexible, but if it's played correctly, spread will always outdamage rapid shots. Now in terms of talisman for the base game, there are only 3 talismans that you are looking for. The very basic and the easiest one to get is the Constitution Talisman. The second best one is the Weakness Exploit Talisman, and the very best one is the Shot Type Talisman. So either Rapid up, Spread up, or Pierce up. That's the best talisman you can get for bow. Now for Rapid and Pierce, the meta hasn't changed at all. With those nerfs, you still play the same bow and the same builds, it's just that you do a little bit less damage. So I'm gonna quickly now show you builds for Rapid and Pierce. For Rapid, if you're using a Constitution Talisman, you really want to have a level 2 slot on it, and that's what the armor looks like. And please note that for Rapid, all the elements use the Rampage bows. The exact same bow, just change the element. Now, if you have a Weakness Exploit Talisman, you can use the USJ chest, which lets you fit an extra level 2 skill, in this case, Critical Boost. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a normal up Talisman 2, you can use the USJ chest and the Valstrax arms, which gives you a lot of room for extra skills, in this case, Critical Boost 2. Now for Pierce builds, the builds look the same if you have a Constitution or a Weakness Exploit Talisman, just adapt your decoration depending on what you have. And as far as Pierce bows go, there are 2 bows that you want to craft, the Fire Pierce bow that is Raknakadaki, and for Ice you want the Daoraz bow. For the other 3 elements you want the Rampage bows. And once again for Pierce, if you're lucky enough to have Pierce up 2 Talisman, you can use both the USJ and the Valstrax armor, which gives you a lot of room for more skills, Critical Boost 2 for example. Spread is the easiest to build for because the Rakna armor is very good for spread, and a lot of the good spread bows have slots in them, so it's easier to slot the skills that you need. And just like for Pierce, whether you have a Constitution or a Weakness Exploit Talisman, you can use the same build, just change your decorations. And once again, if you have a spread up 2 Talisman, you can fit many more skills, Critical Boost 3, so that's the best build you can make. And keep in mind that also in this build I did not put decorations in the bow, but most spread bows do have decoration slots. So I should mention that for whatever reason, the Spread Rampage bow is worse than both the Rapid and the Pierce Rampage bow. Rapid and Pierce Rampage bows have Rapid and Pierce level 5 on their final charge level, but for Spread it's only level 4. I have no idea why, but that's just what it is. Luckily, for water we have the best bow in the game. The USJ bow is simply amazing and has very strong stats, so for water matchups, this is the best bow in the game. For dragon matchups now, Valstrax bow is also very strong, just a little bit under the USJ bow, but that's also one of your best options. For the other 3 elements, you are stuck with the Rampage spread bows. Those are still going to be better than Rapid because spread does more damage than Rapid in general, but those are going to be weaker than the USJ and the Valstrax bows. And that's where we have a little shift in the meta compared to what it was on PC and Switch. It used to be the case that when it wasn't a water or a dragon matchups, you would always use the Chameleos bow because it was stronger than the Rampage elemental bows. Now, on most of those fights, the elemental spread bows is going to be slightly better than the Chameleos bows, but by a very small margin. So I don't blame you if you still want to use the Chameleos bows. There are still a few fights where the Chameleos bow is the best. For example, those are fights where the monster doesn't take a lot of elemental damage, and if it's not a water or a dragon matchup. For example, Xenograe is the best example. That's the best bow is going to be the Chameleos bow, but also Tigrex, Almudron, fights like these that take good raw damage and mediocre or bad elemental damage. So I hope that answers some of your questions. The meta hasn't changed that much since the game was on PC and Switch. For Pierce and Rapid it's exactly the same, and for Spread it changed a little bit. Chameleos bow is not as strong anymore, so we don't use it as much, but that's mostly the same still. If you have any questions, as usual, leave them in the comment and I'll try to answer most of them. Thank you.